Welcome to OG Benchmarks. I certainly have enjoyed plenty of failures in my build projects, but this one stands out as a spectacular, relatively expensive, and utter failure. So thought I would make this failure an upgrade of an HP EliteDesk Mini into a quick video. While I like the idea of building my own system piece by piece, I am very intrigued by the idea of building a super small PC from an OEM mini, tiny, micro PC. These systems have been made by Lenovo, HP, Acer, and Dell for over 10 years, and lots of used systems are on eBay for very cheap. At a low price, you can get most of the parts and upgrade whatever is lacking. When it comes to making a truly mini PC, the weak link is always going to be the GPU. You don't have space for a dedicated GPU, and integrated GPUs are lackluster at best. Lackluster until AMD came out with their Ryzen APUs. One of the early ones was the Ryzen 5 2400 GE. This has Vega 11 graphics. It's not exactly a gamer, but 1080p is within reach if you're willing to reduce the scaling. The E stands for efficiency, and the TDP of the CPU is just 35 watts, perfect for a tiny PC with limited cooling. I really wanted to try one of these CPUs out in a system, and just about a year ago I picked one up for $140. While at the time that price was pretty reasonable, the world has changed a lot since then. Crypto bust, less money printing, looming recession. A price of $70 on eBay would be very reproducible today. So in hindsight, while I will still defend my motivation for buying this CPU, my timing was awful. But wait, it gets worse. Here is the star of the show, the HP EliteDesk 705 Mini G3, Generation 3. These can have Intel or AMD CPUs, but the 5 in the model number tells you it's an AMD system. This is not exactly the PC I bought, but it is the 705 Mini G3. This thing is indeed mini and has a total volume just over 1 liter, ignoring the power brick. It has an AM4 motherboard. These systems can be found with the AMD 7th generation APUs. Think the A8, A10, and A12 CPUs, the A-series processors. The system I bought had 8 gigabytes of RAM as well as Windows 10. It set me back $110 shipped back in November 2021. These have come down in price some since that time. $80 would be more reasonable today. So my plan was to pop the 2400 GE into this system. The motherboard has the right socket, AM4, and a 2400 GE compatible chipset, B300. What could go wrong? Okay, let's quickly walk through the CPU swap. I also upgraded the RAM. Here is my specific HP EliteDesk 705 Mini G3 in hand. I have popped off the cover a bit. These normally have a little screw in the back. Remove the screw and then slide apart the top and bottom. In all these mini systems that I've had, regardless of the OEM, the parts of the case fit very tightly. It takes quite a bit of force to slip these things apart. So on the left is the bottom view. These rails are the feet of the case. On the right is the top view. Here is the opened case. On the left, I've pulled the SSD out of the case. I just flopped it over. That reveals the drive caddy. This sticker is a cushion for the SSD. Over time, it degraded a bit and has left a greasy residue on the bottom of the SSD. To the right, I've pulled out the drive caddy. I thought there might be something interesting under here, like maybe the RAM, but there's not much here. Let's move on to the fan and cooler. Here is the fan out of the case, and the RAM is underneath. Note that I haven't disconnected any cables. The SSD and cooler fan are still plugged in. I've just moved those components out of the way. Finally, now the cooler has been removed. Here is the original CPU. I cannot remember what this is. I'm pretty sure it is the A10 9700E, which is a 35 watt APU. In this picture, I have swapped out the RAM. The original RAM, which was not the original HP RAM, had mismatched sticks. There were 8 gigs total, but one stick was DDR4 2133 and the other was DDR4 2400. I replaced them with 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 since the integrated GPU uses the system RAM and it's beneficial for the system RAM to be as fast as possible for the integrated GPU. Here is the system with the new CPU, the Ryzen 5 2400G. Perfect. I was quite excited to take this picture. All I need to do now is put everything back together. Pow, here it is. This is still the original SSD with Windows 10. So this final picture is what it looked like after I originally moved the top cover. Let's get the cover back on and boot it up. Surprise, it wouldn't boot, or I guess I should say it would not post. I tried a lot of things, checked RAM, etc. In short, the HP EliteDesk Mini G3 does not support the early Ryzen APUs. I learned this by digging through some online boards. I can't remember if I found a message on an HP board or maybe Tom's Hardware, but I did find information that made me realize my mistake. I wanted this to work. I convinced myself that it would work. I did not do the proper research to make sure that it would actually work. While I have certainly wasted money in the past, and likely will in the future, this was a fairly expensive screw-up for me. What would I do differently? First, I would have done more research. Second, the G4 EliteDesk 705 does support the 2400GE. In fact, you can go on eBay right now and buy an EliteDesk Mini with the 2400GE installed for $150 or lower. Finally, earlier this year, the YouTuber ETA Prime did a video on installing a 2400G into a EliteDesk 705 G4. In fact, it was his video that pushed me to go ahead and do this video, even if it took me a few months to finally get around to it. There is another option. Lenovo also has mini PCs with AM4 sockets. The Lenovo M715q Tiny has an AM4 socket. Just like HP, the model does matter. The first generation models do not support the 2400GE, while the second generation models do. These systems are not explicitly labeled as Generation 1 or 2. Instead, you need to look at the machine type. Machine types 10M2 and 10M3 are Generation 1. Here is a label for a 10M3 system. Machine types 10VG and 10VH are Generation 2. Here is a 10VG. If you want to install a 2400GE, then make sure you get the 10VG or 10VH models. That's my story about the HP EliteDesk Mini and AMD 2400GE. Thank you for watching to the end and sharing in my embarrassment and failure. Please subscribe, leave a like, or make a comment. Take care.